Usmania University, Student Advisor, University College of Arts and Science, Usmania University. And also, ma'am is serving as Assistant Director, UGC HRDC, Usmania University. And also, ma'am served as a former Joint Director, Center for Women's Studies, OU, with over a decade of teaching experience across undergraduate, postgraduate, MPhil, and PhD levels. Ma'am has mentored and molded some of the brightened minds in the field. Her reach goes even further through her work as a trainer to prestigious institutions such as AP Judicial Academy, Police, and Forest Academic and Geological Service of India, and several top universities. Dr. Swathi, ma'am, contribution are not limited to classroom. She is a prolific contributor to distance education, having designed coursework and audio-visual material for IGNOU, Usmania University, and B.R. Ambedkar, and many more. Her voice and expertise have touched thousands through television, radio, and print media like TV5, ABN, and ETV, many more, where she has addressed vital psychological issues affecting adolescent women and the broader community. Also, ma'am, published author and respected researcher, has presented papers at national and international forums, chaired sessions, and inspired countless through her words. Through these sessions, ma'am has helped professionals from all walks of her life understand the power of psychology in leadership, resilience, and community well-being. An author of books published by the Telugu Academy, a frequent presenter at national and international conferences. Dr. Swathi ma'am influences stretches across the academic, professional, and public services. She's also a visionary educator, communicator, and counselor. Ma'am also working as a counseling psychologist, a true ambassador and mental health awareness in so many fields. Let us put hand together for make her feel appreciated on this session. We heartily welcome you, Swathi ma'am, for API India. Today's session is psychological first aid. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Manasa. Thank you very much for your very elaborative introduction. And I also thank Rajeshwari. I feel very proud to see most of you placed in the very good roles. Wherever you are, hope like you'll be performing well and reach the peaks. Wish you all the best. Probably even among the participants, some of them looks very familiar, the names. I feel very happy like to see some of the students doing very great in different walks of their life. I think if not directly in the field of psychology, but definitely as students of psychology, you can apply the psychology in whatever field that you are in. So I take this opportunity to thank APA President or General Secretary, whatever be the name, but I feel APA means definitely Krishna Bharat sir for the things that he is immensely contributing at different corners of the Telangana and AP state. I think most of the programs being organized, sometimes I may not be responding, but generally I just go through the kind of the programs that are happening around. And I thank all of you, the members of the APA also, for giving me the opportunity to interact with you all. Only thing is slightly I'm a little unwell. At one point of the time, I felt, should I call Krishna Bharat Garu and say like, whether can I take the session or not? But somehow again, I felt because it is online, I can still handle it due to the weather also slightly unwell. But let us see if with your cooperation, if you are also participating very actively, we can definitely make it a more interactive thing. So the moment like Krishna Bharat sir was asking about the topic, I was wondering like what can be the topic that can be dealt with. So because it is World Wellbeing Week, definitely like many components, whatever Rajeshwari has just mentioned, different topics have been fixed. So one such important topic, what I felt is psychological first aid. In fact, nowadays, the more the buzzword that we are hearing in the mental field is psychological first aid. All of you know about physical first aid, right? So how many of you like were trained in the physical first aid? Because nowadays, like having a training in the physical first aid, irrespective of the gender or the educational qualification, being trained in the physical first aid is also important, right? And even if you are not trained, at least you are aware certain basic points of the physical first aid. But when it comes to psychological first aid, how many of you are aware of this concept, psychological first aid? Okay, some of you are responding. That's nice. So what exactly you mean to say, like, can anyone respond in the chat box? What according to you, or what you know about the psychological first aid? Anyone? Any responses? Irrespective of whether it is right or wrong, don't bother. You can respond in the chat box, or if you have the eligibility to unmute, you can unmute and speak one after the other. Yes. Some of you said yes, you are aware.
It is a type of a practical and supportive method of helping the individuals to cope up with the distress or depression or situation that they are into after a traumatic event or situation that they faced.
Okay. Definitely, like may not be seriously into the depression and all that, but as you said, like aftermath of a particular crisis that they are undergoing, definitely like providing them some help, trying to get them out to heal. Yeah, someone said healing ourselves to some extent as you are helping others. That will also heal yourself, right? Sometimes, like as human beings, even if you are a professional, but still you might be experiencing certain psychological ailments, if not ailments, some disturbances. So as you are trying to help them out, self-healing can also happen, though it is not the correct definition. Okay. Yeah, immediate, compassionate, and practical support, as mentioned by Rajeshwari, that's good. Yeah, relief from immediate distress, right? Being a first responder, very good. Ravi Kiran Garu have responded as being the first responder, right? So at least it's like earlier we also heard a concept called befriending, right? Everyone may not be a professional counselor, but those who have that aptitude to help others who are in the distress, based upon their aptitude, they were trained in certain basic helping skills. I don't even say counseling skills or professional skills as such, but basic helping skills. So when they see a person in the surrounding, like not really going good or suffering with any kind of an disturbance, immediately they used to respond to them and see that they are in the going in the correct direction or trying to refer to them to the right person. So that befriending, probably in a more technical term and with more of the technical skills that are trained, that are given training to the people, the psychological first aid has coined. Befriending is more like an informal thing, but psychological first aid can become more a formal kind of a thing. So let us see what exactly is this psychological first aid. What is that we can do when you are surrounded by the people who are in emotional distress, or it can be sometimes the physical distress or a cognitive distress where too much of negative thinking is happening, and if they are not able to just a minute. Hope you are able to see the slide. Are you able to see the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So how, like, people who are interested to help others, how they can be trained in this psychological first aid, to see that at least to some extent immediate relief can be given to the people who are experiencing the crisis or the distress. So what could be the crisis events? Recently, did you come across any kind of the crisis events? Anyone? because crisis is a very broader term and a very intense term. Sometimes the crisis need not be severe, but it could be not severe in the intense, but immediate help is needed. Immediately, they have to be given some kind of an relief from the distressing situation. So any such kind of crisis that you have seen the people experiencing? Any example? It could be a cyclone, it could be a war, the war victims, or it could be a flight crash. So people like who were affected by the incident, sometimes direct victims, sometimes like the family members. So how they have to be helped out. So if the friends or the supporters or the family members, if they are trained in this psychological first aid, I think much damage can be prevented rather than making them suffer a lot. So these crisis events can happen at the individual level or it can occur at the community level. So as I have mentioned, the large scale events like the broader crisis events could be natural disasters. Sometimes we see like how the cyclones or the tsunamis, and then sometimes the recent pandemic that we have seen, how these things are naturally occurring, which sometimes we cannot predict it. And as a result, the damage is more directly to the victims. And similarly, the terrorist attacks, we often see the hijack of the flights, or sometimes like the bombing that takes place, the Mumbai attacks. So the immediate surrounding people who were the victims, definitely they would be in the shock. Sometimes if immediate relief has not been given or immediate services have not been provided, the kind of the damage that will happen in the long run, it cannot be anticipated. So immediately, like during such kind of the community breakups, or it could be the natural disasters or the things that are happening at the national level, how individuals or the wide communities can be helped out. And if it is an individual event, definitely like it could be an accident. It would be a nightmare for many people when it is a major accident that they have escaped, or a robbery or an assault. So sometimes we see like how they go into the shock. They are not able to come out of it. So such individual crisis can also be taken as an example as to how the psychological first aid can be helping these people. And the need or the significance of the psychological first aid can be reflected based upon what sort of the trauma that they have undergone. Physically, they were injured, or physically, like they were affected with physiological changes in their body, or socially they have been isolated, or they were rejected by the society because of certain incidents that have happened in their life, or the emotional consequences where we can see them going into the depression or severe levels of stress or anxiety. So when they do not know how to come out of it, so the social support that they are having, or even if they're not having a profound social support, but at least like even one or two people who are able to help them out, if they were immediately responding to them, uh, definitely like many things can be prevented, negative things can be prevented, and their well-being could be improved. So just think of a situation where most of you might be members of the clubs or some organizations or communities where you are a volunteer, and suddenly you were asked to come to the place where a hurricane rescue mission has been established, or it could be any other situation like a cyclone where like a majority of the people have to be rehabilitated, they lost their property, sometimes they might have lost their family members. So what do you do? Like what kind of a situation you imagine there, you experience it there? We also see like in the newspapers, right? Even for the minor situations, like when you look at the newspaper incidents, it is like really a pathetic situation. We empathize a lot. But if you have witnessed that situation, if you have seen those people, how deeply they got affected, first you have to develop the courage to talk to them. You have to plan like how you have to really see that they're responding to you. So if you try to be very smooth, soothing, and then try to say like not to get affected. It's not a simple thing, right? So you should know like what is the way to talk, what is that can be done. So we'll look into those situations later. Then another situation is you are walking down to the main street and you have come across a young woman in distress. So it could be in your own apartment where you have seen a young woman like in a very frustrated mood, trying to go out of the apartment. The way her body language is indicating that she might be in a very highly emotional, distressful situation. She might be having the suicidal ideation. So when you sensed it, what is that you can do? When you know that something is wrong, she is seriously disturbed and she is just walking out of the apartment with a different bodily expression and a different facial expression, you can sense it. So what is that you can do? What is the minimum thing that you can do? Then another situation where it could be the hurricane situation or a young woman in the distress, or it could be some other person like sobbing uncontrollably, looking at her house that has been destroyed completely in the storm. Not only the things, but there could be family members in that situation, other family members who couldn't come out of the house. So it could be a same situation, but it can be different situations. How you can help the different people in those kind of crisis situations. So if a person is trained in the psychological first aid, obviously like some immediate relief, and as a first responder, like you can stop them engaging into any other kind of an behavioral outbreaks. Then another situation you can think where probably after your dinner, you are coming out for a walk and then you hear a woman screaming. So how many of you really try to see what is happening? How many of you stop and try to sense the situation? And then when you try to look into the situation, you are seeing a woman kneeling on the ground, crying and picking up the things from her handbag that are lying all over the road. So what is that indicates? Probably she has been attacked, assaulted by someone. And do you try to help her? Or with the feeling like if someone might be around and then tries to attack you, so you try to avoid the situation. Most of you probably, it all depends again based upon your personalities. If you want to help, or if there is a another friend of you beside you, probably you take the courage to really go and try to find out what is happening there. Or it could be, as we know, the bystander apathy. You might not be going there assuming that someone else will take care. So when you reach her and when she tells like two men attacked her and also like showed the knife to her throat and stole money and phone, obviously like there might be many other important things, though the life is not really in the danger, but she might have lost many valuable things from her handbag. Obviously she would be in the distress. So what is that we can do? Sometimes here, not only the crying that happens, the emotional cry, but she would be with a great frustration based upon what she lost from the handbag. So how you would try to console her? How you would prevent her getting the panic attacks because of the incident? So all these situations, if you were there with some kind of a training in the psychological first aid, probably immediately you try to give them some kind of a relief, and then you can make them think, because when you are emotionally like say like completely lost, the cognition will be clouded. The people cannot take a right decision when they're emotionally blocked. So once you try to make them understand or make them facilitate like giving that kind of an emotional relief, I think automatically they would also think what can be done in that particular situation. So these are like generally day-to-day situations. Sometimes they are minor situations, sometimes there could be major situations, but as warriors of like protecting the mental health of the people in the society, if you are equipped with certain skills, you can spread some kind of an emotional well-being among the public, among the people. So for that reason, the psychological first aid is needed. So what could be the different reactions in the crisis event? So I think all of you are familiar, you know about this. So can anyone mention what could be the behavioral reactions in the crisis event? Whether it is the recent incident that we just discussed, a woman attacked on the road in the midnight or in the night time, may not be the midnight, but just the night time. Or it could be a hurricane where, or a cyclone or a tsunami where she lost her own family members or the property. So what could be the behavioral reactions? Can anyone mention? What sort of behavioral responses? Any answers that I could see? Okay, crying, fear, withdrawal. First, they think about how to escape from that area, right? Suppose if it is something like a fire accident, all the houses were attacked. Immediately, people will think about saving the life, right? So, getting panic, yes. So these are like very immediate responses which you can expect from the people. Yes. Then what could be the physical reactions? Emotional, some of you already mentioned, like panic attacks, fear, all this comes under the emotional. Behavioral, like some of you have mentioned in the chat box, like running away, trying to escape oneself from the situation, or crying. All these things can also be, crying can be behavioral as well as the emotional. Yeah, any physical reactions that people might be reflecting? Yeah, shivering, tensed, or they might be, some of them might be losing their consciousness because of the changes in the blood pressure and also the sugar levels. Yeah, profuse sweating. Yes, losing like orientation, cognitive orientation to the situation. Yes. So all these are physical changes. Thoughts, what sort of thoughts they would get? Is it like in that particular situation, emotions are more upheaval of emotions are experienced, or thoughts are overwhelming them? Which one would be generally the most prominent thing? Yeah, helplessness. Yeah, some people definitely, someone mentioned, get ready to face it. If you are basically having that hardy personality, I think you know about who is a hardy personality, right? You are able to still, in whatever situation you are, if you are able to control the situation, and if you are trying to take it in a challenging way, okay, whatever the situation has happened now, let me face it. And once you have decided to deal with it, the kind of a commitment that you experience. So people with hardy personality definitely will think of what can be done in a better way, how they can handle the situation. But every person may not be having that kind of a plan of action immediately, right? Yeah. So behavior, startle, right? Physical sweating, not stable, emotional fear, right? So generally, in such situations, emotions are dominated by the thoughts. If you're very calm and composed, or even if the stress is not so intense, or if the shock is not an intense shock, obviously, though there is an emotion, immediately the thoughts will also try to accompany your emotions and say, like, cool down, you can still handle it. But in a severe crisis, in an intense crisis, definitely the thoughts are generally clouded. No cognitive processes is taking place, only emotional upheaval you experience it. So they just look at you or look at the surroundings, but they don't understand how or what action they have to take, or nothing is sinking into their mind, like they're still in the shock. How did this happen? Or how can this happen to me? That kind of an state of mind they would be experiencing. Or if at all any kind of a thoughts, obviously they would be having the negative thoughts, not the actual, the constructive way of thinking. So sometimes all these reactions are simultaneously occurring in the individual within the fraction of a second. Too many behavioral actions, too many emotions, too many negative thoughts, and even the body is responding because of these intense emotions and the thoughts. So it is very difficult to really calm down them. But still, immediately you have to first observe their reactions in any kind of a crisis event. For example, like if the person's BP has raised, forget about the psychological situation. In any kind of a situation, normal situation, suddenly you have seen a person about to lose the consciousness or about to fall down. Immediately you will understand that probably there is a variation in the blood pressure, and accordingly you will try to respond, giving them some glucose water or sugar water, whatever is available, to see that the glucose levels are raised. So similarly here, when the person is psychologically like not able to balance, psychologically in the shock, you have to think over what can be done immediately. So first, if the predominant thing is physiological changes you are seeing, you have to provide them the support to make them calm down, make them sit, give them some water, and then once that blood pressure or the glucose levels are coming to the normal, then you should be able to focus on the emotions and then the thoughts. So all these things it takes some time. Sometimes it could be within minutes people may respond. Sometimes based again on their personality makeup, it may take some time to respond to whatever you are saying. But we need to observe like in which individual, which reactions are predominant. Accordingly, we have to focus on which step we need to take it. So when it comes to the psychological first aid, as some of you have mentioned in the beginning of the session, it is the first responder, how they are responding. So who are the first line psychosocial support uh, uh, can be provided by the people? Who are those people? For example, like if I ask you, in case if you need a support, a psychological support, who comes to your mind? Hope like you don't leave a message like I require a psychological support or a social support in the Instagram reels or in the Facebook, right? Uh, you don't think about the social media then, right? So how you would respond, or whom do you think like people will respond to you? Yes, mother, friend, parents, okay, nearest and dearest. Good. So I'm happy that immediately you're able to think some people who are able to respond to you immediately. Because unfortunately or fortunately, we are living in the technology world. Obviously, we are using the technology for a better purposes, but unfortunately, that is also being used, that is abused for many purposes. So having uh, only social media friends, only the virtual friends, but not having face-to-face friends is a very dangerous thing. But we see in many situations nowadays, people are trying to depend on AI even to get that social support or a moral support, or whenever they are feeling some kind of a loneliness. There are many youngsters who have informed me that they would rely more on AI to share their feelings. So I don't know how many of you are doing this, because I don't know uh, who are the participants, what is their age group, but this is something unfortunate thing, right? To some extent, probably AI might be giving the support, but the human touch may not be there always in those situations where that dependences, vulnerability has been exhibited by the people. So we have to see that there should be some live social support systems. That is, it could be family, it could be friends, it could be neighbors, it could be anyone, but someone uh, who can empathize, who can provide that a relief through a word, and who can stand by you in the particular crisis. So sometimes when it is not possible in such cases, like where the accidents happen, only the victim is there, then the first responders can be the bypassers or the police department or any ambulance team. All these people can also be trained in the psychological first aid, so that like they can save the people not only from the danger, but also trying to give them the comfort, the psychological comfort that is required. So it is a humane, supportive and practical assistance which we can provide to the people who are really suffering with the serious stressor. And this serious stressor can be anything where they were experiencing the high vulnerability. So here, like psychological first aid. What is not a psychological first aid? If you understand, definitely there will be a clarity about what is the psychological first aid. So it is not that only professionals can do. As I have told earlier, like there was a befriending technique. Similarly, it is something like where people who are interested to help others, who have that skill of helping others, definitely they can be trained irrespective of the age. But only thing is, they should not be so sensitive where more than the help, the damage occurs. Then psychological first aid is not a professional counseling. That is the reason why we say all the professionals only need not be trained in that. And it is not an intervention that is given at the psychiatrist level or a clinical level. And definitely it is not a psychological debriefing. You are not trying to explain whatever has happened, how it is affecting. It is not asking the people to analyze the situations and put them into the logical thinking. At the same time, you are not even pressurizing anyone to tell their story, why you are feeling so low or what happened or why you are experiencing this. It is only like you are just trying to be with them, make them experience whatever the emotion, the reaction that they are experiencing, giving them the space and then making them speak to you about their vulnerabilities. So the moment we give the psychological first aid, as I have already mentioned, they can quickly come to the normalcy without getting much affected in the long term. Then the way that you are providing the psychological first aid, obviously they feel safe, connected to the others. They try to remain calm and also develop that optimistic attitude that things will become normal. So how you are able to provide them this feeling of safe, connected to the others, we'll discuss it. See, sometimes like when you are in a very anxious mode, something you heard, you became very anxious. But the moment someone whom you trust or someone who is very close to you has reached the place or tried to be with you, even if they're not doing anything, even if they're not solving any problem, but still that assurance will be there, right? Because you feel like I can handle the situation because someone whom I can trust or someone who is always ready to be with me, who is ready to support me, is beside me. So that kind of an assurance will be automatically be inferred from the presence of the individual. Then psychological first aid also tries to indicate like what kind of a support can be provided, whether the social networking is important for the person who is into the depression or who is feeling very lonely in a particular situation, or if there is a physical reactions are more, what kind of an medical support can be immediately be provided. And if it is to bring about the feelings of happiness or at least the calmness to some extent, what kind of an emotional support be provided, what is needed to that particular individual, accordingly we try to focus on. Then trying to develop a sense of control by themselves, like instead of like as getting into the agitated mood, how they can develop a sense of control. So here the principles of psychological first aid are: first, all of us are humans, all of us have that empathy within us, the sensitivity within us. definitely like you try to move forward and try to help others. So that kind of an humane touch has to be there. But unfortunately, we see sometimes what is happening, right? If some accident is happening or some fight is happening on the road or some uh, fire accident is happening, uh, instead of trying to go forward and help, people are trying to record the incident and then put it on the social media. So that is very inhuman. But once upon a time, at least immediately people used to rush. Now also people do that. But most of the cases we see their enthusiasm in recording and putting it on the social media rather than providing the support. So one should have that human touch, that trying to be an attitude to be very supportive to the people. And also while helping, see that you are maintaining the individual's dignity, trying to safeguard their culture, because some people strongly have that cultural background. We cannot affect their beliefs about their culture in the process of helping them. And also believe in the abilities of the other individual also, instead of being very judgmental towards them. So who can benefit from psychological first aid? It could be anyone: children, adolescents, elderly people, or adults affected with any kind of an disasters or crisis. Anyone can be helped through the psychological first aid. Sometimes like the life-threatening injuries, that is in serious accidents, or sometimes the individuals can help themselves but not the people around them. With the fear of saving their life, they might have at that moment forgot about their family members or the children. So in such cases, like, the guilt will be more. So how to help them out to overcome that guilt? Then yeah, someone having a serious illness, but no one is there to take care of them. Especially we see such kind of incidents among the geriatric population, oldest population, because we see like in most of the families only the oldest people are there. Children are uh, being abroad or any other, even if it is within the city, may not be easily available. So in such cases, like when they were affected with some serious illness, how they can be helped out? They feel extremely lonely. Sometimes like they're going into the depression, and we have seen even in the pandemic situation how geriatric population has been like emotionally disturbed. They were the people who have become more vulnerable. Or a person held up in a car accident, or could be a victim of violence or witnessed the violence. Sometimes not only the victims, even those who witnessed certain incidents right in front of their eyes, it is very difficult for them to take it. They have the nightmares. They cannot forget the incident. So even in such cases, the psychological first aid can be provided. Loss of a loved one, you all know like how that leads to the intense psychological problem. Then when it should be provided? Obviously, when a person is experiencing a high level of distress immediately after the crisis event. Then where it should be provided? So anywhere, even if it is like a kind of a rehabilitation center, it can be in a rehabilitation home. Sometimes like even after the cyclones, or even after the war victims, when they were moved on to a particular location and where they were given the shelter. So even in the shelter homes that can be provided. So any place where they feel very safe, away from the situation that they have witnessed a incident. So who all can learn psychological first aid? So any kind of a local agencies who are taking care of the people, whether they are providing the physical care or the mental care, whatever, any kind of an NGOs where the people are ready to help the people, they can be trained in this. Then police people, firemen, nurses, family members, obviously psychologists and psychiatrists, definitely, and military people, because these are the different varied professionals where they directly work with the public in most of the time. You can include even the teachers, especially like in schools, where like if any kind of an incident happens on the school campus, how they have to respond instead of making the child being children getting the panic, how that can be prevented if the teachers were trained in the psychological first aid. So teachers can be part of it. How to help responsibly. So here, like many demographic factors, many cultural factors also come to the forefront when you're trying to help. Sometimes the patients or the people may not be ready to accept your help because there are cultural barriers. So you cannot force them to, or you cannot force on them to listen to you, but you have to understand those cultural barriers, give them the space that they would understand you. Yeah, but at the same time, what you have to remember is that even you have to practice the self-care when you are providing the support, the mental support to these people. So these are the 3 L's, the basic, the spirit of the psychological first aid. First L is look. Second L is listen. Third one is link. So can anyone just give an example of what do you mean by these 3 L's? Anyone? 3 principles of psychological first aid are 3 L's. One is look, second is listen, third is link. So can anyone give an example what exactly these 3 L's mean? Don't worry, even if it is wrong. Try it out. What could be look, listen, link? Anyone? Yeah, 2 messages. Look the situation, listen to the event history, observation, sharing our own experience, look about or into the situation. Okay, some of you have given some answers, some else, correct? Okay, unable to unmute. Okay, don't worry, you can use the chat box. Okay. Any one of you were in this kind of a situation where you have been the witness to some crisis that the people were experiencing? It could be a small accident. It could be in cyclone where unfortunately you happened to be there. You witnessed it. Did anyone had such situation? Okay, linking your experiences, collective and collaborative. Okay. Refer to relevant source. Fine. Look is like look into the environment wherever you are. When you sense it that some disturbance is there, that is creating a kind of an bizarre experiences among the people, just look around who is mostly getting affected. Or even like if when you are going to your own office, wherever you are working, whether it's school, college, university, or a private sector, wherever you are, generally like, is it you directly go mechanically to your room, whether it is a classroom or your cabin, and then start your work, or do you greet everyone? Forget about the crisis, okay, in general. So do you greet whoever you are seeing, whomever you are seeing in your day-to-day situations when you are at home, workplace? Suppose like you went to your workplace, you went into your cabin, or before you went into your cabin, you have seen like one person very moody or very silent, or you sensed that something is wrong with that individual. Do you observe any such changes like among your colleagues or anyone, or you're too busy or you are too mechanical in your behavior? Yes, you observe, right? So when you observe, what do? You just observe and then leave, or You try to go and talk to them every day, like you look very cheerful. Is anything wrong that you are looking very dull today? Is something bothering you? Would you ask such questions? Okay, you talk to them. Yes, yes, yes. So that means the first L is look around wherever you are. Look around in the sense you need not turn your head and then look here and there deliberately. But definitely, wherever you are, at your workplace or at home, in your neighborhood or any place, when you observe like someone is not really well in the sense not physically well, I'm not speaking about physical health, but when you sense that someone is looking very disturbed, immediately go and talk to them. If it is a known person, even with a slight hesitation, probably they open up. Even if it is a stranger, initial resistance might be there, initial hesitation might be there, but definitely the moment they open up, you just listen to them without interrupting. And then linking to, after listening to them, linking to the correct source, correct referral. It could be like a normal helping of providing them some information about where they have to go if they are really lost the way, or if it is they're requiring some medical help, giving them the link, how they can get a medical help, whom to contact, or is there any nearby hospital or a nearby medical shop where they can approach, or if it is a psychological disturbance, if when you sense like they require a professional counseling, to whom you are linking, a psychiatric help or in counseling help. So based upon that, you are linking it to the correct source. So these two things, look and listen, it can be part of your personality. If you are molding yourself not to be so mechanic in your life, but also get connected to the people around, definitely you will observe when someone is in the emotional trouble or in the emotional distress, you would go and talk to them. So this link is, every one of you can have some database with you, like with regard to anything, whether it is about the doctors or whether about it is the psychologists or psychiatrists or clinical psychologists. So when you have this kind of a database, based upon the need, you can link the person to the actual source instead of moving to the wrong direction or going into the wrong hands. Obviously you can help them out, because we see like how many quack psychologists have come onto the field. So if people sometimes, even with the high levels of education, they really go into the go and meet the wrong people or go into the wrong direction. And you can think about illiterate or not so well informed people, those who don't have much awareness about the field. They might listen to all those uh, not the so-called professionals. So obviously, like when you have this information, you can provide them the genuine information. So let us see like what is this psychological first aid principles. So first is prepared. Learn about the event that has happened. The event might be in front of you, or the event might not take place in front of you. Already the incident has happened and the person is the victim of it. So in such cases, you have to understand what exactly the event, how that has affected the person, and whether they were whether you have any information about those supporting system or services or any NGOs, whatever the names that you are aware of. Then whether the person can be having the safety and the security. Sometimes like the person might be feeling like, I don't think I can stay in so and so place, or I cannot trust my family members. So based upon the instant, any information can be given by the person. So you have to check these three things. What is the incident happened? Then the information that you have about providing the services, and then any safety and security concerns that the person has been sharing with you. So if this you are well informed, then obviously you will observe for the safety. You will also observe like whether the basic needs can be fulfilled and what are the severe distress reactions after the event that the person is experiencing. So all these aspects you have to observe in the individual. So once you have observed, then naturally you can first listen to whatever they're talking, whatever concerns that they have. And then while listening itself, you can also find out whether they have any support system or whether they want any help directly from the people. So you are probing the information, you are listening to them. Then you are linking, suppose if they were not having the basic needs fulfilled, like food and water or shelter. So obviously you can see like how to which NGO we can make them connect, or which government organization we can inform to them. And then we can also like see how their problems can be solved, or they might be coping with them, whether they are capable of coping it or not. You can, whatever information you have, you can provide them the information. Sometimes like directly, if it is not in your hands, you would connect it to the organizations itself. So prepare, that is, you have to prepare to understand certain things. Look, that is, observe whatever is experienced by the person. Listen to them, and while listening, you also collect the information from them through probing. When I say probing, it is not an police investigation. When you are talking to the people to provide the psychological support, your voice, the way you are using the words, your tone, all these things matter a lot. Otherwise, already distressed person, they would be terrified by your body language and they would hesitate to share anything. So you need to see that your intonation, the way you are showing your body language, your facial expressions, all these things have to be like properly in place. And then you can provide them the link. So to be more deeper into these look, listen and link, look refers to whether the helper looked for, it's like a checklist. Who needed the help, whether it is the direct person who is in contact with you, or the person is sharing about someone who requires the help, whether they have any safety or security risk, any physical injuries that have happened because of the crisis, that is an accident or a fire accident or any other thing. So we have to look into that. Then any basic needs, that is like since 2 days, if they have not eaten anything because of the war or because of the hurricane or whatever. So whether the immediate things can be fulfilled, then need to observe the basic emotional reactions. When you are listening, you see whether they are able to speak about themselves, about whether they are able to narrate, their speech is proper, or any disorientation, whether you can trust the information that is given, because sometimes in shock, they might not be really sharing the genuine information. So you have to, while listening itself, you also have to check whether they are with a normal orientation or any disorientation that has taken place. Then whether the person can be calmed in the distress with your communication, then you can see like what are the needs and concerns. Link is, suppose if the basic needs are not provided or not fulfilled, to whom we have to contact, where they can be sent. If they are in a position to really walk by themselves and go, providing them with the address, giving them the information that is needed. Sometimes like we also see like children might be like misplaced in this pilgrimage camps or whatever. So they're completely with emotional upheaval. So we need to see like whether we can connect them to the parents whom they have lost during that particular disturbance. So how and where the services can be connected. It can be anything that calms down them. I don't know whether this link will be opened or not. I'll just see.
Ma'am, you can post in the chat box, ma'am. Chat box.
Okay, you will see like if any one of you can share it. Just open that and see whether you can play that. Are you able to see this?
Most people will
Yes, ma'am.
experience at least one potentially traumatic event in their lifetime. While the types and impacts of trauma vary widely, we know that fortunately, most people recover by drawing on their existing supports, resources, and skills. This natural recovery process can be helped by using an evidence-informed approach to post-trauma support called psychological first aid, or PFA. PFA is a simple and practical approach that anyone with the appropriate training and good interpersonal skills can use to help calm a person in distress and support their recovery. PFA is not counselling. Once you are skilled in PFA, you can support people in a wide range of situations. From calming those who have witnessed a serious traffic accident, so you can gather important information, to using active listening to support a peer who's been assaulted at work, to linking community members with the right services after a disaster. You can use PFA for any duration and on one or multiple occasions with the person you're supporting. From a 5-minute in-person interaction to a 30-minute phone call to regularly checking in with a peer or supervisee from work. PFA is most commonly used in the hours, days, and weeks after a traumatic event. But you can use these skills even years afterwards when supporting a person who becomes distressed by reminders of their trauma. Using PFA principles, you'll be able to help individuals, work groups, and communities to establish a sense of safety and security after a trauma. It will help you calm their stress-related reactions and connect them with necessary supports and resources. You'll be able to help individuals and communities feel better able to cope and provide them with hope that things will get better over time. And importantly, PFA will help you support others while also helping care for yourself.
So this is basically whatever we have discussed. In a nutshell, again, the same video has displayed it. So I thought probably visually, if you can look into that, you can understand much better about what PFA is. So is it clear? Is it clear? Yeah. So now, Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
you can continue.
Yeah. So apart from those principles, naturally, like though we say when the counseling, it is not a counseling, psychological first aid, but certain skills definitely are common when you are interacting with the people in distress. So that is first, you should know how to provide the comfort. If you yourself become very emotional or overly reacting, that will create more of a negative impact on the individual. So you should know how to provide the comfort and listen empathetically. Don't bring in your own personal attachments to the situation or to the person, and then provide the whatever information that you have with the resources of the supporting systems. So especially like children and adolescents, in most of the situations during the crisis, they would be needing it. Then elderly people or people with disabilities who cannot really immediately move out of the situation. So already they have a challenging problem. At the same time, like when they have to face such kind of an distresses, they will become more fragile emotionally. So you have to see that such elderly people and people with differently able or taken care, then people who are experiencing the discrimination or violence. So once again, here it could be women and the girls, or sometimes in certain situations, it could be immigrants, or it could be war victims. So they would experience a lot sort of discrimination and violent attacks. So we need to see that uh, they are able to overcome or they are able to come out of those kind of a situations. So one thing is that what you should know about providing the psychological first aid is, first, before helping others, are you ready to help? So just because to impress upon the people or your friends are doing it, don't go into such kind of an situations. You see that whether you assess yourself, whether you are able to really uh, take that kind of a challenge in such kind of a situations, whether you are emotionally stable or not. If you are emotionally stable, then do you have that kind of an personality to help others? uh, Probably a good ear to listen to them, and also provide a proper empathy to them, and having the patience to really listen to what they are saying, and also experience the kind of an time that it may take to really say like they are to heal themselves. So first you feel like whether you are having all those qualities, like the basic counselor's traits that are needed when you are dealing with the people. And then, are you connected with any group or organization for safety and coordination? So this is something like, it's not like individually you can do everything, right? At the most, you can console them, you can provide them some emotional comfort. But after that, how you have to place them, where they have to be sent, or how their basic needs can be fulfilled. So you need to have a network. So do you have that kind of a network? I think doctors, nurses, or for that matter, even the psychologists, they should have that database, right? Sometimes it need not be only to the city. Sometimes it can be like, if we can have an information about various aspects, not only about the psychology services or the psychiatric services, but even about good NGOs that are functioning in every city, in every state of India. I think that can be helping us to work more with confidence, because we know that we have the information and we can definitely help them out by linking them to the correct source. So I think we need to develop that. All of us need to have that. For example, like the other day I wanted some information, and immediately I have to contact Krishna Bharat sir to get some kind of an information from another city. So this is the network that we should have. Sometimes like we get a call from other cities like Vizag or some other place, like do we have in the Vizag any kind of a particular NGO for so and so elderly people, or any psychological services that are offered? So unless we have the database, we cannot help them out. So this kind of an information also you need to develop. So once you are okay with all the sources, definitely you can really help them out. You can plunge into that kind of an helping the people. Then while helping, are you physically and emotionally healthy? If you have allergies, if you have other ailments, naturally in certain situations you will become the victim. So how is your physical health? How is your emotional health? So unless, like as I have mentioned, you are a hardy personality, that is any kind of a stress that you can survive, you don't take such kind of an risk or helping behaviors, because everyone cannot work in all the situations, especially like such kind of environmental disasters, the natural disasters that are happening or man-made disasters that occur. Under those situations, are you really ready to work? So only if you are ready to work, if you are strong enough physically and psychologically, only then it is always better. Then you should also know the limits. You cannot do with a magic wand. You cannot cure everything. You cannot uh, give false assurances. You cannot give the tablets. Unfortunately, nowadays we are hearing certain cases where the clinical psychologists are also prescribing the medicines. So such things should not happen, right? We should know our own limits. Even if you know that for a particular disorder, so and so medicine is given, you cannot take that risk of prescribing the medicines. So we should know the limits. Then suppose like as a group from your workplace, from your office or from your college, you are trying to provide the voluntary services. So you should know your team members well. All the team members should be connected well. That is more important when you are trying to help the other individual in distress. Then after the whole event has happened, that is after providing the psychological first aid, it is also important for you to take rest, recover and reflect. Because sometimes we know like the kind of the experiences that you have witnessed, even after you come home, the same incident will be reeling in your mind. So that might be emotionally disturbing you. So a proper rest has to be given. You have to reflect upon those situations, whatever you have seen, how you helped, where you could not help, where you could not provide much help. So introspect, reflect, and then you have to leave it there. You cannot take everything to the heart. And every situation, we might not be really helping them in 100% successfully, but put maximum effort. While putting the effort, while helping them, you should also see that you have that psychological immunity to see that you are not getting affected. So before, during, after, these three things are important. Then when you want to really provide this psychological first aid, you should have this kind of a PARMA model of well-being. That is, you should be filled with positive emotions. It is not like you yourself is suffering with number of emotions, negative emotions, and you are ready to help. That cannot happen. So as a person, you should be genuine. You should be free from all the maximum extent. You should be free from your negative emotions. You should know how to cope with your negative emotions. Only then you can think of helping others. Then engage yourself with the others. Unless like you are having the social interactions, unless you know what is happening around, unless you update yourself with the profession that you are in, you cannot get the engagement with the others. You cannot freely move with the others. So if you feel like I only be by myself, but I also want to help whenever I am needed, it cannot happen. So you need to be engaged with the nature, with the people around, with the profession, with your skills. Only then you can really do wonders. Then positive relationships, how you are getting connected to the people. If you are very good at connecting the people, you can connect to the people in distress also very easily. So maintain that positive relationships. With every individual, you may not be having a very good, high positive relationship, but definitely maintaining healthy relationships, at least. Like sometimes courtesy sake relationships will be there. Sometimes work related relationships will be there. So wherever you are, whatever the kind of a relationship, see that they are healthy. It is not into the conflictual kind of a relationship. So when you have such kind of a mindset, you will also be able to provide or offer the help to the others. Then meaning in life. You see that by helping others, that you are not wasting your time or your things are going on to the back burner, but it provides a meaning to the life. Even if one person is really helped to some extent, and if the person has relieved their distress to some extent, that adds to the meaning to your life. So everyone need not be Mother Teresa. Everyone need not be a complete 100% dedicated to heal the others. But whatever you are doing, if you are putting in an effort and commitment, you are able to reduce even a small percentage of distress in the people. Obviously, that adds meaning to your life. And then accomplishments. So here, when I say accomplishments, need not be always personal accomplishments. It can be like a social accomplishment, that you are taking responsibility for others' happiness. So that also motivates you a lot. And then you can be a hero, and you can make your clients or people in distress also a hero when you instill this psychological capital. So instilling the psychological capital will be the last step. After providing the psychological first aid, once you have connected them to the required sources, if you still have the time to direct them to the counseling, or if you yourself are a counselor and if you are providing the counseling, then you can instill in them the psychological capital, that is creating a hope that from the incident, what is it they can learn, how again they can start their new life with their belief in their abilities, making them develop the resilience. So once you give a proper support, definitely people who are resilient will come back to the normal situations, and they are optimistic about the situation. We have to teach them to forgive the situations, forgive the people. Once they are doing that, they become more resilient. So psychological first aid is the first important step. Once, as they are progressing, you can instill in them the psychological capital. So definitely we can create some meaning to our life and also meaning to their life. So this is what I wanted to communicate. If you have any doubts, you can definitely ask any questions. Anything?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Any questions from the participants?
Okay, no questions. So is it everything is cleared or nothing is clear? I think now you can put them on the unmute.